for impatient traders. So I was asked on the YouTube channel a week or so ago, I've just taken a screenshot of this, saying that my issue comes down to impatience. Often, like this morning, my setup takes a loss and I get frustrated. Then I jump into another trade, convinced that the price will move as I originally expected, essentially trading based on how I think my future self will feel about the loss. Right, okay, so essentially what happens is this is born out of, as we can see, frustration, and then jumps into another trade. So how does he stop doing that? I think there was another comment on the channel and he was basically saying if you could do a video on that, that'd be much appreciated. In fact, I've just found it. So the other part was, Charlie, I just want to say, one of the biggest struggles is impatience. I find it difficult to stick to my strategy and wait for the setups I know I should be following. Even though I understand that trading is a game of probabilities, I often act impulsively instead of following my plan. Do you have any mindset strategies or techniques that could help traders like me develop the discipline to follow our logical decisions rather than giving into emotional impulses? Right. Okay, yes, I do. And so we'll go through just a few right now. So let's move that out the way. So firstly, one thing that can make people frustrated, it of course is going to be day trading. First and foremost, the day trading, more so than trading off of larger time frames, whether it's 4-hour charts or whatever, there's more temptation. Temptation is greater with day trading. So one thing I would say is ask yourself, could you go to slightly higher time frames? So maybe hourly charts, 2-hourly charts, 4-hourly charts. You'll be surprised how much you can still be very active trading off of those time frames, and it might just get you away from a 2-minute chart or a 5-minute chart with all of that temptation and noise that's there. So I think you should take a serious look at that, because it's that noise that goes on during the day that tempts you in. Secondly, your risk per trade. So if you're risking whatever it might be per trade, it might be a bit rich. It might be whatever the level is. Can you reduce your risk per trade? Because if you reduce your risk per trade, you might not get as frustrated. And also, you're more likely to wait because you're risking less per trade. You're more likely to have better discipline in that regard as well. So look at how much you're risking per trade, because the risk itself may be urging you on to make the money, so to speak, and if you reduce your risk per trade a little bit, you might find you're better disciplined. Now, as far as the mindset element of it is concerned, yes, I do think that self-talk is really important. And so what you need to do is prepare yourself prior to taking a trade and post taking a trade as well. Constantly repeating things like, I can't afford to take this trade right now. So when you're about to jump into that next trade because you're frustrated, as you've said, on the back end of the previous trade, you've got to immediately start using that sort of language. I can't afford to just jump into the next setup. It might work for me, but more often than not, if I just jump in, I'll probably trade it badly. So that future trade just doesn't belong to me. I've got to wait for my next setup, as according to what this gentleman has said in his comment there. So using simple self-talk like that can really help. I can't afford to take this next trade. And what I'm saying in that regard is that, well, that next trade may be a loser. And so I can't afford to take that. I've got to wait for the right setup to come along, which might also be a loser, but then I'm going to be less frustrated. The reason he's getting frustrated is because he's taking setups that aren't setups, so to speak. He's just jumping into the market. So if you can, use an arresting language, an arresting mechanism to stop yourself from doing that, then it will help. I can't afford to take this trade because it might just lose and then I'll be frustrated and I'm just wasting money. I can't afford to do that because this is my life savings, so to speak, that I'm trading with. I need to respect the money that I'm trading with more. I can't afford to do this. Who else is being impacted? My long-term future as a trader is being impacted every time I just jump into the market, because it's just setting me back a little bit and I don't want to be set back a little bit. Do you see what I mean? There's all this self-language you can start to develop that will really help as an arresting mechanism to, when you're feeling like, oh God, I could be getting close to wanting to jump into the market. Well, hold on a second. Use language like that. Picture me sat next to you. Right, I'm sat next to you. Would you take that next trade if I was sat next to you right now? Oh, no, I wouldn't. No, if you were sat next to me saying, why are you about to take this trade? Oh, I wouldn't take it. Right, use that. Use all these tips and tricks. Pretend that I'm sat next to you in your office when you're getting emotional. What would Charlie be saying to me right now? Yeah, wait for your setup to come along. What you're about to do is just emotionally charged, jumping into the market. I don't think you should be doing that, do you? Pretend that I'm there. Use that. Use a mascot, if you will, a little teddy bear on your desk. Talk to the teddy bear. Pretend it's me or anyone, a mentor, and you'll be amazed by talking out loud. Especially, you fire different neural pathways in your brain. So if you say the words that I've been saying here in this video, some of that self-talk, it does help act as that arresting mechanism, especially if you talk out loud, because it fires a different pathway in your brain and you're more likely to not click on that mouse and hit buy. So there you go. There's a couple of tips there in today's video. I do hope they are of use.